Power Gamer Podcast. I am your host, Mike Dawson. Joined as always by Johnny Paulus.
What up?
Johnny, how are you doing this week? Welcome in.
I had a weekend. Let me tell you. So the garden is coming along well. We finally this week we put all the mulch down. We put the landscaping paper down. We did all that. We ripped up all the old garden beds, flattened all the soil out, set up our new aluminum garden beds, and then we went to go get a literal truckload of topsoil. Went and scooped all that out into the beds and went, shit, we don't have enough. So we went to get a second truckload of dirt. So needless to say, my Saturday was shot in the head because we were just shoveling dirt all day. But the garden looks great. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have so much stuff to harvest this year. I'm really excited about it. And then today we had a birthday party for my niece. So although it was a weekend where I got a lot done and a weekend where we had some family fun, I didn't really get a lot of me time this weekend. I feel like I blinked and the weekend was over, and now I got to go back to work tomorrow. It's just one of those weekends. Sometimes your weekend is not yours to enjoy. You got to do other shit.
I can relate to that, but no, this weekend for me was A-okay. It was fun. Sorry, I'm reaching up here, fucking around with my interface, trying to get my levels right tonight. So, yeah, no, this weekend for me was pretty good. Did you know that Return of the Jedi is back in movie theaters for its 40th anniversary?
I did.
I went and saw Return of the Jedi in the theater this morning, which, while it's in theaters, if you give a shit about these movies, you need to go see it, because you will remember for the rest of your life how many times you've seen the Star Wars movies in the theaters. Like, that's just the original 3. Who gives a fuck about the other 6, 7, 8? 8, other 8. Who gives a fuck? But the original 3 are sacred documents that you will forever remember. And yeah, is it the unfortunate special edition version? Yes, of course. So does it have the shitty song at the end and the unnecessary CG on Jabba's barge? Yes. And you can kind of laugh at it and kind of also remember that it's just so much better without that. But anyway,
really is.
It's nice to go back and see a movie like that in the theater. And it's kind of jarring to watch a film like that from the 80s in comparison to what we've been getting today. Because the pacing of modern movies is so much slower than old movies. You know, in Return of the Jedi, it's like, here's a vignette, here's a vignette, here's a vignette. And it's just boom, 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 boom. And you just run right through the whole film, because movies didn't run for 3 hours. It was like, nah, you gotta
get to the point,
get it over with. And so, yeah, it was really cool to be reminded of that. It's a great movie. You get evil Luke, who's somehow good, but like he's real fucking evil.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I got to see Return of the Jedi in the theater. I was not out gardening all weekend. You can tell YouTube viewers, Johnny is usually much more kempt than I am. He looks kind of disheveled today. So
I'm beat down, man.
He needs a haircut and trim.
I do need a haircut and trim. But so on the subject of Return of the Jedi, sorry, Mike, I know you've heard this rant probably a dozen times, but the listeners have not. Out of the original Star Wars trilogy, I am in the minority that Return of the Jedi is my favorite. And I have multiple points of reference as to why Return of the Jedi is my favorite. Number 1, Luke Skywalker is a whiny bitch in the first 2 movies. In the first 2 movies, he's, but I gotta get these power converters. I gotta help my friends. And then all of a sudden, the moment Return of the Jedi starts, that's my Luke Skywalker. The badass Luke Skywalker. Rocking the black, fucking soft-spoken, no longer a bitch. Also, Return of the Jedi is, I think, one of the best third acts in like modern action sci-fi because there's so much going on. There are three separate threads that are all tied to the same conclusion, but it just keeps cutting back and forth, and it's so good at like what's going on with the ground crew getting into the base, what's going on with Luke and Darth Vader, what's going on with the guys up in space trying to get into the Death Star, and it just the way that it weaves back and forth so masterfully. Return of the Jedi is my favorite of the original trilogy. I know I am in the minority there. I know a lot of people don't like the Ewoks. I would also argue that the Ewoks are fucking badasses. I know everybody gets mad that they're cute, but you know what? They're cannibals. The moment they caught them, they're like, oh, fuck, this is food. We're good. And they put them up on the stick, and they're ready to go. They're a bunch of badasses. I know they're cute, but they're badasses.
Return of the Jedi is fine. I think I don't know anybody that doesn't like that movie.
No. I know that, but it's not often. It's not the common pick for the favorite out of the trilogy.
Well, no,
most
Empire
people say
is.
Empire or New Hope. Yeah.
I don't know anyone that says New Hope. I mean, Empire is. It's Empire. It's really good. But the thing Empire lacks, though, that I love is space battles, and Return of the Jedi has inarguably one of the best.
Yep.
The irony is the new trilogy has really good space battles, and so did Rogue One. So one thing for me to like in those, if nothing else, which pretty much nothing else.
Well, and now while we're on the subject of Star Wars, we have now finished Andor.
There's a lot of Star Wars tonight, but yes, no, we finished Andor. We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
I went to the mall and watched Return of the Jedi. I got home, I went, I'm going back to the mall, and I picked up Jedi Survivor, the new Star Wars game.
Hell yeah.
I just finished another game, and I'm like, yeah, it's time. I guess that's a perfect time to get things officially started here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is episode 115 of your Power Gamer podcast. We're going to begin this week's episode, as we always do, by discussing what we've been playing this week. So I'll get us started here. As I've got quite a bit to discuss.
You've been busy.
But of course. So first up, let's talk about Dead Island. No, not the new fancy Dead Island that just came out. Let's talk about the original Dead Island. Dead Island 1. Few things to talk about this. Now, first off, I did beat this game this past week. Woohoo. Yes, it is Techland's. Before Dying Light, there was Dead Island. And I mean, what a leap forward it was, Dying Light from Dead Island. Navigational things for you out there that maybe are saying, well, yeah, Dead Island 2 just came out. Do I want to play the first game? Here's some things that you need to know. First off, if you have an old Xbox 360 copy laying around, which many of you do, no, you can't throw it into your Series X and have it work. It's not backwards compatible. That being said, yeah, you can probably still snatch it for $5 on the marketplace. It seems to be perpetually on sale for nothing. Third, it still runs and plays great co-op. So play it with a friend. I think that's probably the best way to enjoy it. I can't imagine playing that game by myself, actually. It feels designed to be played with someone, because it's also not very good. But having someone else there to play it with makes it infinitely better. The combat in Dead Island is basically just doing the same whack-a-mole dance over and over with the zombies. It's not a very hard game, and all the characters have this fury meter, which is present in the new Dead Island. Dead Island 2 has this as well. And it's sort of like in Destiny, where you have the ultimate ability, and like, which is really jarring in a game where like you're a football player, a rapper. But anyway, where you go into like this ultimate mode, And so I played the football player guy, and his specialty is throwing weapons. I was like, yeah, throwing weapons sounds like a good way to go because there's never, a lot of ammo in these games. Or you don't want to be using guns because that alerts zombies. I'm like, I'm going to go with the throwing weapon specialist, having played Dying Light and Dying Light 2. I'm like, that's probably the way to go here. So when my guy would ultimate, as I leveled him up some, basically, Genji in Overwatch, he's got the shuriken, and he does the shotgun throw, where like there's 3 of them that spread out. So basically, when my guy does his ultimate, he turns into Genji, and he throws throwing knives out. But one of the abilities on my level up tree is that the throwing knives, any one of them has a chance to kill the target in one shot. So like anytime there was like these really big enemies that are sort of like the tanks from Left 4 Dead that just, will completely fuck you up and drain all of your resources. Whenever we would encounter one of those, I just pop my ultimate, one-shot him. Be like, it was supposed to be like this big fight or whatever, and it's like, nah, whoop, he's gone. So this is basically the game loop. Go complete quests, run into Big Bad, Mike pops his ultimate, one-shots the boss, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. 12 chapters of this, very short. And then we get to the final boss. And they love fucking rooftop encounters in these Techland games. I mean, it's just something about being on a rooftop when they do their final boss encounters. It must be. So, unlike Dying Light, where we had the annoying QuickTime event final boss that made 0 sense in context with the rest of the game, this one gave us a traditional end boss that you have to fight. I'm like, all right. So it's a dude with a gun, and I'm like, I've got this funny feeling that there's going to be more to this, just out of I've played a lot of video game intuition. And sure enough, dude with gun turns into big, raging zombie boner.
Okay.
That looks like he's designed to give us the hardest time of our lives. I go, well, I'm glad I saved my ult. Hit it. Voop. One shot. Dead. Credits.
Ladies and gentlemen, if Mike can find a way to break a game, he will break that fucking game.
I'm like, man, that was real anticlimactic.
That's funny.
Get on the helicopter, leave the island, very Resident Evil-esque ending. GG's. Dead Island 1 is a 6.5.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking 6.5.
Out of 10. But it's a lot of fun. So if you have someone to play it with, I'd say 100% play it with a friend. You'll have a blast. It's like watching a fucking Evil Dead movie, basically. But who wants to sit and watch an Evil Dead movie by themselves? Gotta have somebody to laugh with.
Amen.
Next up, Dead Space Remake. We have to give this its due time because it came onto the show this week. And for my purposes, it's also leaving the show this week because I completed Dead Space Remake right after finishing God of War Ragnarok last week. I popped it in and said, that's what we're doing. Dead Space Remake, let's go. And me doing my diligence, I did actually fire up, after I beat Dead Space Remake, the original Dead Space and played through about an hour of it just to remember what had happened between 2008 and 2023. So let's dive into Dead Space Remake a little bit. Number 1, holy shit, the graphics are dramatically improved. It's ground up, rebuilt, remade, as the title suggests, and it's probably the best looking game on the PS5 right now. I think it's notched Demon Souls for that title, which Demon Souls was a hell of a good looking game, but Dead Space Remake looks fucking incredible. They really make great use of the lighting, great use of frame rate. There's hardly any issues in the game. Couple of minor things. Nothing awful.
Right.
Really, really, really solid performance-wise, which is good because this game is also really fucking scary, as Dead Space games should be. However, I would say that the 2008 game feels more scary, and I think it's just something about those dated graphics that are fucking terrifying. You see the old necromorphs, and they're fucking scary, and I think part of it is because you see so much of them, and the lighting in the remake is fantastic. However, because it's so fantastic, it you don't really get the same feeling when you see the necromorphs in the new one. They're covered more in shadows. So if you're like terrified of darkness or whatever, this remake's probably going to scare the shit out of you. But if you're more terrified of the creatures themselves, I feel like you see more of them in the original than you do this remake. The game, as it always has, took almost exactly 12 hours to clear, which is the going pace for the original Dead Space. But I have to say that the remake, although the levels and like what you're doing is lockstep very similar to the original Dead Space, the writing and everything for this game is completely different. In a great way. The original Dead Space it linkified Isaac too much. And in Dead Space Remake, Isaac is a very active character in the story.
That's great.
And even like the whole first sequence when they're boarding the Ishimura, the writing is completely different between all the characters. So they really didn't recycle anything in this remake. They took everything that Visceral did, and honest to God, they made it so much better. So if you've only played the original Dead Space and are thinking to yourself, well, I've already played it, or, well, I played it recently, it doesn't even feel like the same game at all because of how much better the writing is, how much better the game looks and plays and performs. Anyone that's played the original Dead Space or not played it really needs to play this game. I would say the only people that need to stay away from it are people that like cry and have panic attacks when things scare you. I would say that this game is probably the game I would recommend the strongest for someone to play in the current generation. More so than Horizon, more so than God of War. I really think that this game showcases what a game can and should be in 2023. So probably put it to the top of my list for PlayStation 5 games. I feel like this game, even though it's a remake, is a serious Game of the Year contender because it's so not the same game. So if anyone hasn't played Dead Space Remake yet, this is your the message. You really need to play it, and you really shouldn't wait because you probably haven't played a game better than it. Dead Space Remake is a 9 out of 10. Next up.
Sounds awesome.
It's really fucking... And yeah, you just need to get right into it, Johnny. Don't wait. I know you played through the old series not super long ago because I was there to watch it. Don't wait.
Yep.
Do not wait.
Okay.
It's worth it. Next up. I'm still working through Harvestella, and I've found that reducing the amount of time that I'm spending on that game has actually increased my productivity on it. So I'm very deep into the game. Only have a few chapters left. but also don't really want to spend too much time talking about it until I actually finish it. So, Harvestella, we'll be back. I'll be done with you in a week or maybe 2 weeks or maybe 3. I don't care. I'm just taking my time and cruising with that one at this point.
Yep.
Next, one of my most anticipated releases of the year, The Last Case of Benedict Fox, is finally out in the wild. For those with Game Pass, you may play this game with your Game Pass subscription.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
It is a Metroidvania. And my first impression of the game were meh. This game doesn't come out of the gate very strong, and it comes out of the gate dumping way too much shit on you at once. And I feel like with Last Case of Benedict Fox, once I've gotten past the notably seemingly gigantic learning curve of the game, because it pretty much just a la old school just kind of dumps you in. But now, if we talk about an old school game that does it right, we're gonna compare it to Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. At no point in the first 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes of that game, hour of that game, do you feel like they've put more on your plate than you could possibly fucking hope to remember? And Benedict Fox does that in about 30 seconds. Benedict Fox is also insanely difficult. So you need to figure it out, and you need to figure it out fast. The main mechanic in Benedict Fox revolves around parrying attacks. So if you do not like parrying attacks, you will hate the fuck out of this game. Coming in, you get 4 hits, and then you're dead. And it's a very tough game if you play it on its standard difficulty settings. My next gripe with Benedict Fox is your difficulty is basically every enemy you touch dies in 1 hit, easy. Which I'm like, okay, that's too much.
Yeah.
Normal difficulty, okay. Or this game is satanically difficult for no reason. I'm like, well, so I've been playing it on normal, and I'm just like, man, it'd be great if they like slowed it down a little bit with, here's welcome to the game.
Yeah.
Here's a chance to learn how to do this. Here's a chance to. So the pacing of that first is fucking horrible, and you basically get to a boss like within the first 30 minutes. I don't even know if I'm supposed to fucking be there. You know what I mean? It's one of those. So I have high hopes for this game, high praise for this game, but the pacing is fucking god-awful, I can tell right off the bat. I don't think this game's going to review very well, which is unfortunate because it's part of my fantasy draft, because all of the marketing for it made it look wonderful. But
we were drooling over this trailer.
But they really didn't take cues from the former success stories, and I think a lot of people are going to get turned off and uninstall this game in about 30 minutes. So be wary of The Last Case of Benedict Fox. It has quite a steep learning curve, and it throws you into the deep end and says, good luck, have fun, which is frustrating. But I'm going to stick to it because I've been excited about it for a while. And I'm sure once I get it down, then it's just going to be like any other Metroidvania that I play. I mean, I've played some fucking tough ones. But even Blasphemous kind of walks you in like, okay, here you go. It's a new scary world, but, let's get you set up. And because I don't even know what half the shit that I'm interacting with is even for or what it does. It's just not well executed. Boo.
And I think that's really like one of the biggest keys for Metroidvanias is you have to sort of, it's breadcrumbs. It's all breadcrumbs. It's a little bit like, okay, now you have this new ability.
Well, like,
let's make sure you know how to use it.
it fails on explaining where save points are. Like, I had to die to figure out what's going on with that. I'm like, okay. I guess I don't need to do anything. Do I need to do anything? And then you're like teleporting between two worlds, like right off the bat. It's real confusing, man. Really confusing. So highly disappointed.
Bummer.
By Last Case of Benedict Fox. And I'll be honest, if it frustrates me for like another hour or two, I'm just going to uninstall it and say, fuck that game. Like it's not a great way to welcome people into your new game. Beautiful game, great music, really good writing. Too bad it dumps walls of text about things that you have no idea about right off the bat on you, and you're just like, it's literally like they just turn on the fire hose with your face right in front of it and said, "Here you go." And like that's bush league, frankly.
That sucks, yeah.
More on that game possibly in the week to come if I go back to it. We'll see. For a game that I'm certainly going back to, as I previously mentioned, after my venture through time with Return of the Jedi, I ventured back to my local shopping mall and picked up Jedi Survivor. We've got a lot to talk about with Jedi Survivor this week, but right now we're just going to talk about me. I'm not going to talk about anybody else and what they've been going through with this game. We're just going to talk about old Mike Dawson and his love for consoles, namely the PlayStation 5. So I went and picked up my physical copy of Jedi Survivor for the PS5, popped in the disc, and then waited an hour. And I have really fast fucking internet. Really fast. Looks like that disc was worth absolutely nothing. In fact, we know that disc is worth absolutely nothing because, and I knew this before I went and bought it, that the disc, you can't play the game with just the disc. Which is always a bummer. There should be some playable thing anytime you issue a disc. But not with Jedi Survivor. I'll embrace the future next generation. Anyway, Jedi Survivor kicks off quite strong with a lot more action than Fallen Order gives you, because Survivor picks up where you left off, and it's not a Metroid game. There's no amnesia. There's no, oh, I lost all my force powers. No. When you come into Jedi Survivor, you are Cal fucking Kestis from Fallen Order. All your force powers are there. You've got your lightsaber. Things are good for Cal. He hasn't reverted into a shadow of his former self. He is the same man that you left in the last game. The game does a really good recap of Fallen Order at the beginning as well, which is great for people that maybe it's been 5 years. Maybe you said, I don't want to play the old game. I just want to play the new one. You're good. You get a nice recap of what happened in Fallen Order, and then Survivor takes off. So I've gone through about the first hour and a half, something like that, of actual gameplay. I'm running the game in performance mode on my PS5, which means it's basically locked at 60 most of the time. I did see a little chugginess here and there, but never when I was fighting, throngs of stormtroopers or anything. It was just in like weird cinematic but rendered spots. So who knows? Performance has been fine. Couple of changes to the game format that I noticed just in the menus. In Jedi Survivor, you get 2 stances. So you begin with single lightsaber stance and double lightsaber stance. You will only ever get 2 stances, but you can switch them anytime you're at a save point. So I think that's going to be kind of cool. And I've seen some of the new stances. We're all familiar with the double lightsaber where it breaks it apart and it's got two. I'll probably never fucking use that. The new stances in this game are the crossguard lightsaber, which is a very slow and deliberate Kylo Ren style of lightsaber. Yeah. And then this like kind of mercenary stance where he's got a pistol in one hand and a lightsaber in the other, which that I'm all about. I think that's very fitting for Cal Kestis, actually. Basically letting you mow down people at range while also having the single lightsaber to defend yourself up close. I think that's going to be pretty cool. So having a good time with Jedi Survivor, the story writing is already chef's kiss just in the first level. I don't think this is a spoiler, but one word, Coruscant. Awesome.
Cool.
So more on Jedi Survivor. That's going to be the primary game that I'm playing over the next week. I can already tell it's very good. It's been reviewing fantastic everywhere except for Steam. So we'll get to that in a minute. Whew. Johnny, that wraps up what I've been playing this week. What about you, sir? What have you got going on?
You ready for some deja vu?
Oh, no.
I have played, I'm going to say, another probably 10 hours of Hogwarts Legacy. I know I keep saying that I'm close, but I really think I am close. I am now a golden god in that game. I have my spells figured out. I can walk in, transform somebody into a red barrel, blow them up, use my crazy abilities, mow out an entire bandit camp in 30 seconds. The story is still really good. There was one major character development. Don't worry, I'll keep it spoiler free. But there's one character that you spend a lot of time with, and there's a heel turn that felt unearned. It was a little too sudden, and you're like, okay, that happened. Wasn't a huge fan of that reveal. I don't like heel turns when they're not earned. And sometimes they're so sudden that you're like, but where the fuck did that come from? And this is totally one of those. But otherwise, I've taken out two of the big story bosses that we've been sort of talking about for a long time. I really am down now to the final big bad. I don't know how far away I am from getting to him. I'm hopeful it's going to be this week. But this is a chunky game, man. Good Lord. I don't even know my total playtime, but it's got to be 70, 80 hours at this point. It's a lot. But the game's awesome. I'm still in love with it. Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I am now on to... I did nearly everything that could be done on the second world. I'm now on to the third world. My total completion on that game is at about 30%. And it's still a strong recommend. It's one of the best strategy games I've played in a very, very long time. I would say, I'm tempted to say it's the best one I've played since XCOM 2. It's fucking awesome. I am absolutely enamored with it. And in that same vein of strategy games, I also fired up one of my absolute favorite Game Boy Advance games. Has now been rebooted and remade for the Nintendo Switch. I'm speaking, of course, of Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. I didn't really know what to expect with this. I mean, I knew that I liked the original game, but I didn't know how far they went with the remake. And I'm happy to report that outside of like the cinematic conversations in between missions, the actual battles that occur in game, it's all 3D models, which in the original game it was very much anime style, cartoon sprites fighting, and the new one is like full 3D models, and it's very cool. And I don't have a ton to report on it. I'm only like 2 hours in, but if you've never played these games, you're in for a treat. And if you've already played these way back in the day on Game Boy Advance, you already know how awesome these games are, and you should probably just go pick up Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. But I'm really, really, really trying to take out Hogwarts. That's the big one I got to knock out. But next week, I am going to start Jedi Survivor, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, are you getting that through the old GameFly?
Yep. Yep. I already sent my disc back. They received it Friday. I'll probably have Jedi Survivor in my hot little hands. I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. They're pretty quick.
Yeah, the kind of speaking along the lines of the Mario Rabbids game. There is one coming out soon, kind of like that I cannot wait to play, which is not very common because I'm not usually into the those kind of isometric strategy style games that are real time. But I fucking can't wait for Aliens Dark Descent. I know we've seen that a few times
Yep.
in trailers, but goddamn does that look good. I love that it's going to be a $40 day one release for consoles, for PS5. And that is coming out close to my birthday. I've got about 2 months. June 20th is the release date for that. So,
Well, and one of the main things that you and I share is how highly regarded we put the Aliens franchise. I mean,
yes.
it's the single greatest sci-fi horror thing ever created, and it sucks we don't get a lot of great video games out of it. We've had a couple, but not a ton. There's been a lot of attempts that were not great.
There's really not any that I care for, to be honest. I mean,
Isolation's pretty great.
have you beaten that?
No, I got a game-breaking bug on it.
I rest my case. There's not that. There's really not any Alien game that's ever come out that's been like great.
I don't disagree there.
The closest was the Alien versus Predator game from like back in the early 2000s on PC, but that doesn't count because it's a fucking Alien versus Predator game.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, most Alien games have kind of stunk it up.
Yep.
Colonial Marines was supposed to be like the most amazing game ever, and then was a complete flop. Fireteam Elite is fun. Like I'd like to play that again, I guess, but it's just repetitive and kind of monotonous and boring. But Dark Descent looks like it could actually be fucking good, and maybe this is the genre that Aliens needs to live in. I don't know.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, and what's funny is another movie franchise that suffered a very similar fate as Ghostbusters. They keep making these okay Ghostbusters games.
Well, that
There's
latest
never really been
Ghostbuster game, the co-op one, is supposed to be really fun and good.
My kids lost interest in it in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's a 9 out of 10 on Steam. It's everyone that I've talked to, my friends, peers, have had nothing but great things to say about that game. So I would not write it off. I think that one is a hit for Ghostbusters. But yes, every prior thing, I had the old Ghostbusters game for like fucking NES. What the fuck even was that? Like it didn't make any sense. It was so bad. And they've just never been great. Ironically, the Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, have always had good video games. So who can?
Very true.
Who fucking knows? Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes what we have been playing this week. Now, we know that all of you listen to the show every single week and have a great memory for things that we've discussed. You know, Johnny, our rolling count of listeners, I don't know how often you check the metrics, but has been around 200 weekly listeners for a bit. So if you weren't aware,
I was not aware.
You are. If you're one of the OGs listening to the podcast, well, good on you, because the army is getting larger. That's right. There are more of you joining and taking up your power gamer gloves.
Hell yeah.
And getting on board. So I digress. In episode 112, so a few episodes ago, the podcast episode title was the PC Master Disgrace. Little play on words there.
Great fucking title, Mike.
Well, unfortunately today we have more to discuss that would have fit nicely into that episode. And the game in question was mentioned in that episode, but for a completely different reason, for its unnecessarily gigantor install size.
Mm-hmm.
So Respawn has now really joined the trend of PC misery. Now, unlike myself, many people are trying to play Jedi Survivor on PC, not PS5 like Mike Dawson. And once again, if you're a PC day one gamer, you are absolutely miserable. Probably. Let's explain. Because not everyone is having the worst time ever with Jedi Survivor, but a lot of people are. EA put out a statement on Twitter. We are aware that Star Wars Jedi Survivor isn't performing to our standards for a percentage of our PC players. In particular, those with high-end machines or certain specific configurations. They continue. For example, players using cutting-edge multi-threaded chipsets designed for Windows 11 were encountering problems on Windows 10. Or high-end GPUs coupled with lower-performing CPUs also saw unexpected frame loss. Rest assured, we are working to address these cases quickly. While there is no single comprehensive solution for PC performance, the team has been working on fixes we believe will improve performance across a spectrum of configurations. We are committed to fixing these issues as soon as possible, but each patch requires significant testing to ensure we don't introduce new problems. Thanks for understanding and apologies to any of our players experiencing these issues. We will continue to monitor performance across all platforms and share update timing as soon as it is available. The Star Wars Jedi team. Now, I'm sure a PR person combed the fuck out of this before they put it up. That being said, there seems to be a lot of information squished between the lines of this statement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't just a, hey, look, sorry, our PC port sucks. Y'all are used to that. We'll have it fixed in a couple of days. All right, cool. No. This is very specific. And ironically, hits on some points of how we prevent these things from happening in the first place. I'm going to get out my verbal highlighter here. Okay. That second paragraph of the statement. Players using cutting-edge multi-threaded chipsets designed for Windows 11 were encountering problems on Windows 10. High-end GPUs coupled with lower-performing CPUs are seeing a frame loss. So basically they've circled, if you're using a new CPU, GPU configuration and have not upgraded to Windows 11, or if you're using a high-end GPU, so let's think 3080, 4080, something in that territory.
Yeah.
With lower performing CPUs, so let's think, how many generations old? You know, 1, 2, 3, maybe.
I'd say 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Nothing outrageous. The nicest performing CPU on the market is on a chipset that doesn't exist anymore. The 5800X3D AMD. Oddly specific, wouldn't you say, Johnny? That right on release, a statement of, well, here's what's wrong.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this? You're Mr. PC gamer.
Well, the main reason why this really bums me out is that Respawn has never done this to us before. So if anybody remembers, we're going to go in the Wayback Machine real quick. The guys at Respawn were the main guys behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And when they said we want to make it something different, and Activision said, we think the fuck not. Get back in there and make another Call of Duty game. They said, we're out. Have a nice life. We're going to go start a new company. And that new company then made Titanfall, Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and then Jedi Fallen Order. Every one of those titles, day one PC was fucking solid. Rock solid. Even Fallen Order was great. Fallen Order fired it up. It was fine. I had no problems, no main issues, no problems like that at all. So when you mention how specific they're being here, I think, the thing that bums me out there is that this is clearly something that they were aware of. And I think they should have had the balls to say, PC players, we're going to delay the release of this game 14 days. We have a known issue that we need to track down. We want PC performance to be great day one, and it's currently not in release status right now. This issue does not affect console release date. Console release date will remain, but PC players are going to have to wait a week or two. I mean, what they're describing doesn't sound like something that would be a massive undertaking to fix. I don't pretend to know shit about coding or making video games, but it does seem really shitty that, literally like, 3-4 days after the game is released, they're going, well, here, it's this problem and this problem. It's like, you didn't just figure that out yesterday. You knew about this and released the game anyway. That fucking bums me out. Now, I would like to talk to my PC gamers out there on the subject of Windows 11. Anytime Windows releases a new operating system, we've all learned our lesson, right? We all remember Windows Vista. We all remember Windows 8, where you go, oh, I get my upgrade to Windows. Let's do it. And then you do it and you go, uh-oh, right? Anytime they release a new operating system, the next version of Windows, my go-to resource is always tomshardware.com. Tomshardware.com is probably the most in-depth PC performance website out there. If you want to see benchmarks of what RAM stick is the best for your fucking processor, Tom's Hardware is the website. But when Windows 11 came out, performance was good. It was better in some games and not better in other games. So I decided not to upgrade. And I think I waited, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, whatever it was. I then saw an article on Tom's Hardware where they were like, yeah, no, you're good. If you have current tech hardware, you should go ahead and make the change to Windows 11. For those that are not aware, if you have a current gen or previous gen Ryzen or Intel, so let's say you have a 5800, you have a 7800, you have an Intel, 12th gen, 13th gen, 14th gen, anything like that, go ahead and make the upgrade to Windows 11. Gaming performance is pretty much better across the board, and we now have the first major video game release where they've outright said, if you have current hardware that is meant for Windows 11 and you're running Windows 10, you're going to have a bad time. The architecture behind Windows 11 is better optimized for these multi-threaded processors. It's better threaded for the faster RAM. It's better threaded for the faster motherboards. Everything about it is optimized for the modern hardware. So if you have older hardware, leave Windows 11 alone. But if you spent the money and you've got like a nice world, like Mike right now, you should just go ahead and do the upgrade to Windows 11. I got a noticeable, I think I ran 4 or 5 different benchmarks and then did the upgrade and fired up those games, and I got somewhere between 8 to 12% increase in frame rate, which is pretty fucking wild for just going, yes, install, and then waiting an hour. It is also an install that will let you fall back if you need to. So if you do it and you've hit a major issue and something's not working and, oh my God, my computer's fucked, you can always go back. But I wanted to go on that little tangent. But no, this bums me out because Respawn has kind of been a PC-friendly company. Every release they've done so far in their history has been rock solid on day one, and I think that they should have delayed the PC release a week or two if this was the case. I'm confident they're going to fix it. I'm confident that 2 weeks from now, this will be a thing of the past. They'll have it all worked out, and I'm sure it's going to run wonderfully. If you were planning on getting this on PC, Show them that you're pissed about this and hold on to your wallet until they fixed it. Don't go buy it. Wait till they fix it. Let them see that it fucking matters when you release something that's not done.
Yeah, get the bugs sorted out before you sell it to
Look,
everyone.
In the PC world, we're used to waiting. It's fine, right? They released the Final Fantasy VII remake, and I said, I'll wait for PC. It took me fucking 2 years, but I waited. We're used to waiting. So on a game like this, if you know what the issue is, you know it's going to be a problem, they should have just... And the thing that really pisses me off is that it's digital release, right? They're not shipping discs for the PC version. So they could have made that announcement 2 days before release day and say, we're really sorry, the PC version's not done yet. We need a couple weeks to cook on it. Here's the release date for the PC version. We're really, really sorry. We're going to give you a free DLC bonus lightsaber in suit that is for anybody who has already paid the money for this game, or anybody that buys it within the next 2 weeks. You'll get this free DLC pack, and we're really sorry to do this to you, but we need to get back to the drawing board and get it working properly on PC. I'm really, frankly, disappointed that they didn't do that and just kind of half-cocked it, as it seems like everyone wants to do this to PC gamers right now. It sucks.
Indeed. So, the game has kind of been getting slogged review score-wise on both Metacritic and Steam, with people just zeroing it for it not working great. Which is its own separate can of worms, because nothing goes back and changes those reviews. Now, with proper reviewers, it's doing quite well.
Yeah.
And again, for console players, there really doesn't seem to be an issue. So it kind of stands to say that, yeah, there's definitely of late been a lot of optimization problems for you PC guys out there.
Yeah.
And there doesn't seem to be any golden solution as to how to fix it. Because right now, devs are trying to deal with basically, 4 generations of video cards? Probably 5 generations of CPUs.
Yep. 2
operating systems. A crazy wide range and speed of RAM. The technology around PCs...
and storage speed, too.
Oh, yeah, NVMEs versus people still clinging to disk drives for whatever reason. Yep. There's just not enough standardization in minimum requirements for gaming. And I think ultimately that's what the problem is. Paired with technology is advancing far too quickly for a standardized process. So, back in the day, I mean way back in the day, like 25, 30 years ago, right? Baldur's Gate came out and you wanted to play that shit, you had to go buy a DVD drive that your computer probably didn't have on it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Nowadays, everything tries to be compatible with everything.
You hit the nail on the head. Yep.
And there's no. You need to have this. If you want to play Jedi Survivor, you need to be on this gen or newer processor, this gen or newer video card, this operating system, or get fucked. There's not enough rules in the PC marketplace right now.
Well, I think the developers are afraid to drop that hammer because they're afraid they're going to get backlash. But the fact of the matter is, I remember when id Software's Quake was announced, and we saw the pictures of the game. This, for people that don't realize, Quake was one of the first entirely 3D video games. There are no 2D sprites in the game. Everything you experience is all 3D. It had not really been done yet. When they announced that game required an Intel Pentium processor, when the entire world was on 486s, It would be like if Jedi Survivor came out and said this requires a 4080 video card.
Yeah, because
It was that big of a jump. It was like, if you want to play this game, you need to get your ass to the computer store. And that happened a lot in the old PC days. You know, like you said, Baldur's Gate, shit, I need to go buy a DVD drive. You know, and you're right. Now the problem is they're trying to make it run on everything. And I think at some point they have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. And I don't know if it's storage speed, RAM speed, operating system, GPU. I don't know what it is, but it's clearly, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike. I think this is that these companies are trying so hard to make it run on everything that it runs like shit on everything.
Respawn's not letting you play this on a PS4.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's
100%.
And a lot of people's PC gaming rigs are more PS4 than they are PS5. You know, to be a PS5, you need to have a fucking crazy fast storage medium.
Yep.
They're not fake powerful. Like they're pretty powerful machines. And so when you're trying to run this with, you've got your 10th gen i7 that was, you know, super fucking sick forever ago, and you've got it paired with a 3080, and it's bottlenecking its fucking brains out trying to run this game at anywhere above 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, at some point they just have to say, well, like with consoles, at some point they had to cut the cord and say we have to stop making things for PS4.
Yep.
You know, PC really needs that, because it seems to be every fucking release having this problem right now. Like, I wouldn't want to develop for PC right now. Are you fucking kidding me? Unless it was like something any machine could run.
Yeah. Now, so another quick message to our PC gamers out there. If you do not have an NVMe drive in your computer yet, the prices continue to plummet, and you no longer have an excuse. If you don't know what an NVMe drive is, you should Google your motherboard. There's a program you can download called CPU-Z. And if you download that program, you run that program will tell you exactly what your processor is, exactly what your motherboard is. You can then Google that motherboard and see if it supports NVMe drives. If it does, you need to go buy a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte NVMe drive. You can get them. I've seen them as low as like $60, $70. And the storage speed is like, it's hard to comprehend how much faster they are than regular drives. A regular drive is like 150 megabytes a second, 350 megabytes a second. If you get a really fast one, maybe they're a little bit faster than that. NVMe drives can be 3 gigabytes a second. Like they're literally 20, 30 times faster. If you don't have one, holy shit, the difference that it will make. I'm serious. Do yourself a favor. Go buy an NVMe drive and reinstall Windows on that drive, and your computer will boot in 12 seconds, and you'll be like, what have I been doing with my life? Why did I wait to do this? It is such a massive upgrade.
Well, and kind of like the final point in this, everyone's favorite streamer, Dr. Disrespect, made a big post about Jedi Survivor saying that he's been playing it and it's been fine. So there's these contrasting views, but you have to read between the lines of EA's statement, which we have. Hopefully that helps you all make your buying decision and to think about, hey, is this really the devs' fault, or is this just a result of circumstance, so to speak? So anyway, on that point, I digress. Johnny, it's time for this week's final segment. That segment is, of course, called One Up. What is your One Up this week?
My one-up is the Asus ROG Ally. Are you hip to this thing?
Yes, it's the Steam Deck killer.
It is definitively the Steam Deck killer.
It's the device that no one actually wants.
You really?
No, I'm kidding. There's so many people that are like, oh, Steam Deck. Oh, man, the Steam Deck's the greatest thing ever. Oh, my God, the Steam Deck's so cool. Okay.
I mean, the reason why I didn't buy a Steam Deck day one is because I'm always wary of first generation anything. I always want them to work out the kinks and come out with the next version. So the Steam Deck, for anybody that doesn't know, has a 1280 by 800 screen, which essentially means it's 720p. For handheld, it's not bad. It's acceptable. It's okay. But the ROG Ally screen is 1920 by 1080,
Booyah.
full HD. Okay? It has essentially twice the frame rate, twice the refresh rate, a bigger screen, a brighter screen. I think it's even a more attractive looking unit. When I saw the preview videos of this thing running, like somebody in their hand showing it and going through how well it worked and showing what fucking games they were running on this thing, I saw that video and said, that's really cool, but this thing's going to be $1,200. It is now leaked that the Asus ROG Ally is going to sell for $699. Now I know that's a lot of money.
I thought it was
but
$599, $600 even.
Is it $600? I heard $699. They maybe they have different versions. Maybe there's like a premium that's $699 and a lower one that's $6. But regardless, this thing at $700, and it's twice the performance of the Steam Deck. Now, here's where things get exciting. Steam has to respond. They have to announce a Steam Deck 2, a Steam Deck Pro, something. And they will. Steam's not going to just sit and let Asus come in and go a year later, go, hey, we just beat the pants off your... So, one of two things will happen. One, Steam will announce their Steam Deck 2 with similar specs, similar speed, same price point, maybe less. Or, this would be one that I might even be happy with, maybe they price drop the Steam Deck. As the hardware is getting more common, they've made more of them, maybe their factory making is more efficient, I don't know. Maybe supply and demand is not as bad as it was. You know, if they were able to make a Steam Deck for, $50 less, $100 less, I think they'd sell even more. So the big thing here is that we now have competition in the handheld PC market. So it's going to get interesting. And I'm really, really excited about this. I don't know if I'm going to go run out and buy one, but if you're looking for a handheld PC system, you should go on YouTube and watch a couple videos for the Asus ROG, R-O-G, and then Ally, A-L-L-Y. It is fucking cool. It's really cool looking. They were playing like Elden Ring, and it was like 60 frames, no problem, like rocking and rolling. So pretty fucking
stuttering
cool.
And chugging along with its terrible PC port. Yeah, here's my outlook on Steam Deck and and I do genuinely think this technology is cool. Okay, I'm not against it. I think it's great. However, nobody buys these things. I mean, seriously, in the grand scheme of consoles, if Sony farted and the fart smelled remotely like a new PSP, there would be more pre-orders in on the waft of fart than have been generated the entire time the Steam Deck has been out.
You're absolutely right.
Steam Deck in 2022 sold 1.6 million units. That's, again, I think that's respectable.
Yeah, it's good. It's
for
good.
What it is.
They're making money.
There's varying reports of what the projection is for how that unit's going to have done by the end of 2023. The high end of that spectrum seems to think that there could be 3 million units out in the wild. The low end seems to think that there will be 2 million out in the wild. Total. Ever. But you've already highlighted why I fucking hate this thing. Right? And now, I'm someone who doesn't want one that has an opinion on it, which means I'm the rarest motherfucker on the planet. Right? Again, someone who does not want one and has an opinion on the Steam Deck is the rarest motherfucker on the planet, because normally anybody who has an opinion on one, it means you know about it. And knowing about it normally means you want one. That is a very small percentage of people that even know what the fuck this thing is. Everyone else on planet Earth doesn't know about it and doesn't care. Because it's not... The thing with a product that's great, a really wonderful product, is it answers the need that existed. Okay, when someone comes out with a great product, it answers a need that existed. Think of Tesla electric cars. We see them fucking everywhere now. Steam Deck does not answer a need that existed. And it's deeply flawed because now we've got a competitor coming in, right? And what was one of the first, the biggest things that you just said? They have to respond, right? So this unit's been out for less than 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't even sold 2 million units yet. And then they're going to come out with a new one?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about the problems with PC game optimization. You know how many games aren't optimized to even run on the little screen right now? It's fucking most of them. So, like...
That's not true. The Steam Deck verified list is pretty decent.
It's okay, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's very small. And, like, if I want to play Stardew Valley, just get a fucking Switch. You know? And the other thing, too, is the cost. Like, you can buy for $600. I had this discussion with someone else who listens to the show this past week, who's probably cursing at his listening device right now. But what's beautiful is I just get to talk here. Is you can buy a fucking laptop with a 3060 in it for $600. That's going to run most of the shit out there. And it's a fucking laptop. Someone tried to have the argument with me that, oh, well, a Steam Deck's just as capable as a PC. No, the fuck it is not. Yeah.
I mean, you can sideload Windows on it, but it's
you can install Windows on it, but can I edit this podcast on it? No. Can I edit a video on it? No. It's a fucking Steam Deck. It's not a computer. It's diet computer. So I agree that there's some excitement that I might even share a smidge of for the Asus Ally. And this was probably a really good topic to get into this that we just haven't touched on yet. So I'm going to run the show a little over discussing this.
Sure.
But I think these portable handheld PC whatevers are problematic in just that there's no rules. You know, what are all the early adopters of Steam Deck going to do when the new Steam comes out fucking a year and a half later? They're going to flog to buy the new one? You know, we're talking about a percentage of people. 1.6 million people bought this $400 piece of equipment.
Yep.
There's just not, I don't know. And what does it cost to develop a new one? Is Valve really going to be interested in putting out a new one of these things every 2 years? The whole thing's a fucking mess. And all the Kool-Aid drinkers who bought one, just they've got those goggles on, man, and they can't fucking see it. And I've not ever been able to have an objective conversation with anyone who owns the Steam Deck about how fucking flawed this system is.
Well, and to kind of piggyback on that thought, I mean, Valve's hardware history is not good.
No, the
not
Steam
not
TV
good at
or
all.
whatever it was called.
Like the Steam Link, I have one. I love it. I still use it. They fucking couldn't give those things away, and they eventually were selling them for, I think, literally $1 on the Steam store. The Steam controller, it's okay. It never really got an improvement, and then they were giving those away. And when they announced the Steam PC, where all these brands were going to have officially licensed Steam PCs, completely flopped.
Yeah.
Completely flopped. So, as much as I want Valve to have a win, I mean, I kind of want them to just Valve. Let me just get back to the main point of I think every episode of the Power Gamer podcast. Valve, can you please finish Half-Life 3? Just fucking make it already. Stop messing around with all these other things and copying this MOBA and copying that fucking whatever. Give us Half-Life 3 and stop fucking around.
So the Steam Deck's cool. The Asus Ally is cool. All these things are cool, but like, I'm not going to take any of them seriously. Period. Again, Sony could fart and it would do better than the Steam Deck has.
You're not wrong.
And the door's open for competitors to come in because whatever. All right, we need to move on.
What's your one up?
I think it might be the same as last week, but we finished Andor. So I just need to come out and say, God, the one person I'm referring to also hates my take on Andor. They're probably just going to unfollow the show. Sorry. Because Andor is the best piece of Star Wars content ever made, ever.
Ever.
It's not just better than all the other garbage television shows and those garbage 7 movies that came out after the original trilogy that we didn't need. It's better than fucking all of it. Seriously. And it's so weird that it exists. You know what I mean by that? It's just weird.
It's too fucking good to be Star Wars.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like there's this set-in period with Andor that I went through, like the first 2 episodes, and you're just sitting there like dumbfounded. You're like, this has to be crap because it's Star Wars. It can't be this good. And when you get to the prison sequence, there's just nothing better. Definitely not in the Star Wars universe. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. So, for the last time that we talk about the first season of Andor here on the Power Gamer podcast, I just wanted to give its proper due. That it's literally the best piece of Star Wars content that exists.
And I've heard from people that watched it and were like, I don't know, it's okay. And all I can tell you is like, put your fucking phone down. Put your phone down and watch it. Don't play your puzzle game while you're watching it. Don't scroll through your Facebook. This is a fucking deep, very well written show. You need to pay attention. It respects your intelligence. It expects you to pay attention. It's not going to fucking hold your hand, but it's so perfectly well knit. Everything ties together. Everything is there. There's a reason for everything. You end the season and you really don't have a whole lot of questions. They fucking nailed it. I mean, it's just
acting is just bananas.
Oh, yeah.
So, Star Wars Andor.
Yeah, no, it's God tier.
You're definitely worth multiple watches. It's just out of control good. I don't want to be done with the show. I just want to keep watching it.
I'm on my 3rd or 4th.
I just want to keep watching the show. I almost want us to watch it again now that I've seen it.
I'm fucking down. Let's do it.
Start right back to episode 1 and roll it again.
I'm not playing. Let's go. It's that fucking good. I will absolutely watch it again with you.
We should do that because it's really good.
I'm down.
It's really, really good.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen, apologies, but also you're welcome because you got a little bit of extra content this week.
Yeah.
We will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode of the Power Gamer podcast for you to enjoy. Until that time, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Polish.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you all on the flip-flop.
Ooh, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.